because Dario here he's a media professional. He's done a lot of work in the media, but I also see the media as this very negative force as well, spreading misinformation and biased information and all of that. What? And I want to ask both of you, how do you see the role of the media in this change? Is this something we have to just put aside and not touch and just work on the connection between people, or can the media be harnessed somehow? How do you see it? I want to hear both of you.
Okay, can I start? Okay, so I think when we talk about the media, we have to make the media, especially today, there are so many media. There are different things in the media. So I will make a distinction for us to reflect between what we see in the news, in news shows, and the way in which normally brands communicate. For instance, a brand like big brands like Coca-Cola, Nike, whatever you want. And here you will see immediately a very big difference. News shows, the news generally want you to get a very quick and conscious reaction. And that reaction works much better with bad news, because basically our ego, our separateness has an instinct of preservation. So whenever we see out there something that may threaten us, we pay attention, and we have an addiction to paying attention to this, because every time something bad happens, something in us awakens us. It's like it's a bit of a drug. But it doesn't go anywhere, of course, because life is not, we know well, life is not only about self-preservation. Self-preservation is important because otherwise consciousness doesn't exist. We need the physical recipient. But if we stay only in that level, life doesn't go anywhere. It's like a movie that it's not going anywhere. But see how brands work. Like brands that want to sell, I'm not advocating for brands, but just understanding how they think. They want to develop a long-term relationship with someone. And how do they do it? With bad news? No. If you see the way in which Coca-Cola, Nike communicates, they're trying to create happiness, they're trying to create inspiration, because that's what creates long-term relationships. This is, I think, what we need to understand in terms of when we see the media. I mean, the media is just something out there. It's a mirror. And it exists only if we look at it. If we stop looking, I think there was an episode in The Simpsons in which the ads become alive, and
and they stop looking and they disappear.
It's like, just stop looking at them. It's look at yourself. Lech lecha. Just understand how this is working. That the media has these two influences, but your goal is not to react to the news and not to become a friend of Coca-Cola, with all due respect to Coca-Cola. Your goal is to create that relationship with yourself. And so, once you do that, the role of the media becomes increasingly less important. I would say, in my experience, the people who really are connected with themselves and work with themselves care less about the news, read less newspapers.
So, Dr. Laitman, is the future? Does the future does it have no media in it, not news or brands, because they both want something from you, or do we still need media? How do you see media helping us today to go through this change?
I don't know your definitions, and I can't use your words because it's not my terminology. But it seems to me that we really need the media because we want to draw toward connection, all the people in the world. So first we have to explain to them that their good future depends only on the level of connection between them. So this awareness and the proofs of it, we have to convey to all the nations and to every person. If we succeed in doing this, then it's our benefit. The world will be happy. And if we don't, we will find ourselves in war. Because according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, we can find ourselves in another world war easily. And then what will remain of humanity is a few couples who will continue the species, but that's about it. So we have to see how these things can get out of hand and we can lose control of them. Look what's happening in the United States and between the US and China, everywhere actually. It's very dangerous. So our question is, how do we call it through the media or whatever? How can we convey to all of humanity the problem that everything depends only on the good connection between people, and that good connection is in our hands. We can explain, we can teach. We have thousands around the world. Actually, it's millions. So the question is, how can we come to every person with an explanation about what our good future depends on? I need the media. Let's work together. You're a handsome guy.
No, I fully agree with what Dr. Laitman is saying, and I'd say the key is connecting to the media consciously. And if you pay attention to the word media is a mediation. We ultimately are using the mediation for other purpose. You can think of a metaphor in religiosity with a ritual. Like you perform a ritual for connection, but if you are performing the ritual unconsciously, just because it's a commandment or whatever, it doesn't work. So I think we need to approach the media in the same way, having a very clear conscious drive on what's our purpose and what we are doing. In the same way that the current people who manage the media have that drive, like the people in the news know what they are doing when they put bad news and in the way they edit. And in the same way, the people who manage brands know what they are doing when they try to generate a certain feeling in people. The key is that we all become conscious of that. So we are all, in a way, doing the same work. There's no one doing the work for us, but we are doing this integration and connection work, which I think we have an opportunity to do that every day with the person next to us, with the person in the shop, and eventually people who have access and capacity to create communication products with a broader reach.